Gary Carter, for me, was one of the true class acts of baseball. He never met an interviewer he didn't like, to the point where he was so cooperative with the press. I think a lot of his teammates, maybe out of jealousy or whatever, kind of thought that he was going overboard and pandering to the press. And so he wasn't the most popular guy with his teammates. But the one thing that you got to say about Gary Carter was he was genuine. And even though he had probably the majority of his prime Hall of Fame type seasons in Montreal, he was without doubt the key guy that the Mets acquired to put together that '86 championship team. When they got Gary Carter from the Expos, that's when everything seemed to start to come together as Frank Cashin resurrected that team from the ruins of the DeRolay ownership regime and turned them into a championship caliber team. And after that, Gary had pretty much established himself as a Hall of Fame catcher. He was the dominant catcher in the National League after Johnny Bench retired. And he continued that, for the first 4 or 5 years with the Mets. I always wished that he had kind of thought better of the fact that he tried to hang on a little bit too long in his career after he left the Mets. And I think that was what hurt him as far as getting into the Hall of Fame. He played those last couple of seasons with the Giants and the Dodgers on the West Coast, and he was a shell of the catcher that he had been with the Expos and Mets. And because of that, I think a lot of the West Coast voters in the Baseball Writers Association saw him in that manner and didn't vote for him for many years, and that's why he was on the ballot for 5 or 6 years before he got elected. The other thing I can think about Gary Carter is that he was such a clean-cut, just effervescent guy. We used to kid around as writers. We'd take private polls as to who would be the first Met from the '86 team to pass away, and there were many much more logical suspects as far as the way their lifestyles were concerned between Darryl Strawberry and Dwight Gooden and Lenny Dykstra, those roustabouts on that team. Gary Carter would have probably come in 25th in any poll as far as somebody who would be the first of that team to pass away. And that's why this is such a terrible shock, because you just there's no rhyme or reason why Gary Carter would be the one to be afflicted with this horrible, insidious brain tumor that killed him. It's just a terrible tragedy, and he's a guy that we're all going to really miss.